Do we have a doozy for you now, guys, gals, all 50 infinite genders in between? Hereditary. Woo. So this is a movie that my wife and I watched a couple weeks ago, maybe. Does it say when I added this? I wish Letterboxd told me more information about what I do. Watched. Does it say watched when? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so I saw this movie a little while ago, two or 3 weeks ago. Looked really interesting to me. Kind of looked like it was a smart horror movie, and you couldn't tell much about it from the trailer. So, and my filmmaker buddy was like, "You got to see this movie." So I'm like, "Okay." So my wife and I watched it, and we loved it. It is great. It is fantastic. It is a breath of fresh air in a world where not many movies like it exist. It's a smart, for the most part, horror movie. And it does, all my life, at least being like filmmaker conscious, watching horror movies, I'd pick out things where I'd be like, oh, that's good. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, that's terrible. There's like one out of every five things I've seen in a horror movie have been really good, and everything else is just garbage. The normal cliches like, why are you running upstairs rather than running out of the house? Close the medicine cabinet door, and in the mirror you see the bad guy. They're still doing that crap, by the way. Just all kinds of dumb things where I'm like, just because this is a horror movie doesn't mean you get to break the rules and just write your characters really crappy and stupid all of a sudden. Which is why I appreciate movies like You're Next, which is a pretty good movie. It's kind of, I guess you call it a horror. It's more of a thriller because there's not like supernatural elements, but I guess you don't need supernatural elements to have a horror film, do you? Your Next is a great movie. You should check it out. It has a very smart main character. But I've always like pieced together things where, from all the good things I've seen from horror movies, I'd be like, okay, here's a great idea. Here's a great idea. I wish I could see that in a horror movie. And Hereditary hits a lot of those notes for me. It even features, I'm not going to go into spoilers because I want people to see this movie. So I'm just going to give it a very strong recommendation and not go into spoilers. I don't really need to. There's a scene or a shot later in the movie. Again, no spoilers, but you know this is coming, where it's just kind of pretty dead center on a dark doorway with a man just standing in the doorway, like looking at the camera and smiling. And I've always had in my head this vision of just like a shot of a doorway, dead center in the frame, and a character just like walks into the doorway, and there's no like pomp or circumstance about it. It's just there. It exists in a very real sense. Because all these dumb horror movies, I hated this about it. All these dumb horror movies nowadays, not that it is a dumb horror movie, but they always put these stupid musical stings every time like something spooky like appears in the frame. It did that every time Pennywise did anything whatsoever. It Follows, which is another really good horror movie, but it would do that too, where the scene you see in the trailer where just like this tall guy like appears out of the darkness and approaches a character from behind through a doorway. I'm pretty sure there was like a musical swell there too, and this movie doesn't have that. This movie, fantastically scored, by the way, by Colin Stetson, who's like an experimental jazz saxophonist, I believe. Phenomenal score. Great, great, great closing track to Reborn. It's absolutely beautiful, perfectly written for this movie. Couldn't have been better. yeah, that where was I going with that? The music. Yeah, the musical stings. Very absent. This movie knows how to play the atmosphere. And for some reason, this movie is also getting a lot of flack because people are thinking it's stupid or cheesy or silly. Because they're used to musical scares, musical stings, jump scares, quick cuts. This movie has the opposite: lingering shots, very unsettling, long visuals, very atmospheric music, and no for any time a bad person appears in the frame. It might have that here and there, but it's warranted. I mean, it's not like, oh, here it comes, here it comes. I know that's going to happen. Yeah, there'd be scenes where you do see like a figure in the back, in the dark, in the corner, and it just sets the tension, and you think, "Well, I don't know where this is going to go," and then like the person leaves or something, and you're like, oh, now your attention is shifted elsewhere because your expectations have been broken. You don't know what's going to happen now. Not that this movie is the first one to do that, but it's just so rare that whenever it does happen, I'm like, oh, good, finally, a horror movie that I don't know what's going to happen, which this movie is full of. In accordance with people like Mike and Jay from Red Letter Media, I would say it kind of droops in the middle a little bit. There's a climax that happens pretty early on, 30, 40 minutes into the movie. And after that, it lulls for maybe 10, 20 minutes. And that could have been tightened a little bit better, I think, but I'm not too strict on that. It caught my attention, but that's literally just like nitpicking a slight flaw in a very close to flawless movie. Close. But yeah, I highly recommend Hereditary. It's fantastic. A little violent, well, fairly violent. Not in any kind of extremely visceral way. Like I can't do movies where like people are alive and going through terrible agony and you're seeing it on screen and it lingers. I can't do that stuff, which is why I haven't seen a lot of slasher films. It's just not the gore porn, the torture porn. I just can't do it. I can't do it. This movie doesn't have that, but it does have violence. I'll say that. So if that's a weight off your shoulders, good. This movie didn't really upset me too much in that regard. Still very unsettling, though. Very unsettling. Yeah, that's it. Watch this movie for Spooptober coming up. Speaking of Spooptober, my wife and I were going to freaking go out of our way this time to watch The Exorcist this year because we have not seen it. And it's like supposed to be the best horror movie, right? And we haven't seen it. We tried last year. Actually, we didn't try last year. We just didn't do it last year. We wanted to, but we just didn't even give a damn. So this year, we have it ready and we're going to watch it. Okay? Maybe some other horror movies too. Maybe. I have some movies I want to see, so hopefully I'll be able to do more of these. I also am going to open this bite-sized review thing up for music as well. There's some albums I want to review that I want to like give attention to, I suppose you could say. So expect to see some more diversity in the bite-sized reviews going forward. And yeah, that's pretty much it. What else do I have coming down the pipeline? Hopefully some more guitar tutorials. I have one planned, and then maybe another one come later in the fall. And I think that's it. I'm still hard at work on my book, just trying to keep busy with creative things. But if I learned anything from Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, we should probably stop being creative. So, bye.